Hey guys, we have a lot to get through in this video, but before we get to the main event, Marvel Studios keeps achieving so many major accolades, one after the other, and I have to highlight two of them before I get to the main subjects of this video. The first one being that the Marvel Studios produced Spider-Man Far From Home has officially become the highest grossing Spider-Man movie of all time, officially dethroning Spider-Man 3. That is no small feat. So I want to congratulate Kevin Feige, Tom Holland, and John Watts for this magnificent achievement. And secondly, but more importantly, Avengers Endgame is the highest grossing movie in the world, officially dethroning James Cameron's Avatar. There is a new king of the world. Hold on. When did James Cameron said that superhero fatigue was supposed to set in? Never mind. But the point is that in spite of inflation, in spite of the fact that if they ever were to re-release Avatar, it would almost immediately outgross Avengers Endgame and become the #1 movie again, right now, at this moment, on paper, on the records, it says that the highest grossing movie, the most successful movie in the world, the one that has reached the pinnacle of cinematic achievements, is a fanboy film. It's a film based on a comic book. It's a movie made by fans for the fans. It's one of our movies. So let's just enjoy that for the moment, and whatever happens in the future or doesn't happen is okay. And that's it, guys. Let's jump right into this. San Diego Comic-Con, Kevin Feige, who's usually very secretive about what's happening behind the scenes at Marvel, what they're making, what they're not making, what movies are on the way, walked on stage and just dropped 10 bombs back to back to back to back to back, or should I say 11 bombs back to back to back to back. And watching, if you look up the video on YouTube of the panel, it is, if you're a Marvel fan, it is one of the most emotionally exhausting experiences you will ever go through. Even more physically and emotionally exhausting than attending a sporting event, a wrestling show, a concert, a comedy show, any live event, because it was just one exciting announcement, one after the other, one after the other. Then a celebrity, an actor, or personality from the Marvel Universe would come out, and that would be exciting. And then when you thought you couldn't take any more excitement, Kevin Feige would hit you with another more exciting announcement, just one after the other. So my recommendation to you, if you sit through this, hour-long presentation, take some breaks, bring snacks, bring plenty of water, stay hydrated. You're gonna need the energy to get through it. I was just wiped out. I was spent after I watched it. Now, the first topic that I'm going to talk about was actually the last thing they announced, but it's the first movie, the first Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 4 movie that's coming out next year, which is Black Widow, coming out on May 1st. That's right, Marvel is retaking May next year. May will be once again Marvel month. Now, I could sit here and tell you how I feel about there being a Black Widow movie, but the fact of the matter is that our thoughts on the existence of this film is inconsequential. Or our thoughts of the possibility of there being a Black Widow film franchise, they don't matter. The fact that this movie exists is already a win for Marvel Studios. Because the existence of this movie in general is a miracle. Because Black Widow wasn't even supposed to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The original plan was for the lineup of Avengers in the first Avengers movie to be the same as it was in the original comic. And for those of you who don't know, that original lineup was Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Ant-Man, and the Wasp. Plus, of course, they were going to add in Captain America, even though he wasn't in the original comic, but because he's such an important character, they were going to throw him in even from the beginning. But then those plans changed. They intended, and when you say this aloud, it makes perfect sense, to introduce all the male characters in their own solo movies. The original lineup was supposed to be Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Thor, then Ant-Man, then Captain America, the first Avenger, followed by Avengers. But unfortunately, they kept having creative differences with the original Ant-Man director, who was Edgar Wright, and the movie kept getting postponed and kept getting postponed. That, combined with the fact that their second movie, Incredible Hulk, underperformed, it made Marvel Studios desperate for a hit. And at the time, their only hit was Iron Man. So now that they had an empty slot on their slate, they decided to just fast track and immediately produce a second Iron Man right after Incredible Hulk. And the rest is history. But now that Ant-Man and Wasp were missing from their lineup of Avengers, and they needed 2 extra characters to, fill up the group, so they settled on Black Widow and Hawkeye. But even then, even after they decided to hastily and abruptly introduce Black Widow in Iron Man 2 and Hawkeye on Thor, Scarlett Johansson was not supposed to play Black Widow. They already had casted Emily Blunt in the role. And she was all set, ready to go, ready to put ink to paper, sign her Marvel contract, and play Black Widow for the next 10 years, when suddenly 20th Century Fox steps in and goes, excuse me, she has a 3-picture deal with us, and she still owes us 1 movie. Which ended up being that horrible Gulliver's Travels starring Jack Black. So she had to go and do that, and that was a conflict with the time that they were going to shoot Iron Man 2, which of course they wanted to fast track and get through production as quickly as possible. So Emily Blunt was unable. They went with their second choice, who was Scarlett Johansson. So on top of the fact that Black Widow wasn't supposed to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but somehow was included via an extreme series of coincidences, on top of the fact that Scarlett Johansson, who was not their first choice, was casted in the part. So, on top of those incredible sets of coincidences, please keep in mind that Black Widow has never been an extremely popular Marvel character. I don't think anybody at Marvel Studios or Marvel Entertainment ever sat around thinking, when are we going to make that Black Widow movie? The desire, the need for a Black Widow movie stemmed from 2 things. The fans' love for this character in the film franchise, as well as Scarlett Johansson's dedication to this character, and always giving her 100% effort in every moment, every minute that she's on screen. So again, I cannot emphasize enough how amazing it is that this movie exists, how it should definitely be worth seeing, no matter the quality of it, but more importantly, that it will have Taskmaster in it. So if you don't watch it, you're foolish. Moving on to the first Marvel Studios Disney Plus miniseries, which will be Falcon and Winter Soldier. Now, before I say anything about these upcoming series being produced by Marvel Studios for Disney Plus, I want to get something really clear, really important for all of you to understand, because a lot of people don't seem to be able to compute this. This is the first TV show, streaming show ever produced by Marvel Studios. But what about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? What about Agent Carter and Daredevil and Jessica Jones? They didn't make that, okay? I know those take place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they share some characters in common, but they didn't make those, okay? None of them. Those shows, every existing MCU show that up till this point, has been produced by Marvel Entertainment, completely different entity from Marvel Studios. And the head of Marvel Television for Marvel Entertainment is Jeff Loeb. That's why you see that balding nerd at every single one of their panels. Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Runaways, Cloak and Dagger, all those shows that allegedly take place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe have been produced by a completely different group, and that's why most of the time there's such a severe disconnect between those shows and the movies. This is really fucking exciting because it's being produced by the people who are making the movies. And all of these shows, whether they're exciting to you or not, will have strong connection to all the upcoming movies. There you go. I hope this clears things up for everybody. Please pass along the information, because there's a lot of really stupid fucking people who claim to be fans who can't seem to understand this. As far as Winter Soldier and Falcon are concerned, I love the characters. I love the actors who play them. Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan. Very talented, very cool actors who embody those characters perfectly. I'm definitely going to watch the show. Not excited about it. I might get excited when I see a trailer, just not excited about it right now. And personally, I think it's rather hasty of them to introduce the Captain America Falcon in this miniseries. I was hoping they would save that iteration of the character for the next Avengers movie. Let's call it Avengers 5. Somewhere down the line. Again, I really hope that they, save the next Avengers movie for a few phases down the line. At least the end of phase 6. 6? Would 6 be? Yeah, phase 6. 3 phases down the line. But again, that's just my opinion, and it might change the moment that I see a trailer to this show. And then the second movie that we're going to get in 2020 will be Marvel's The Eternals. I know little to nothing about The Eternals. Yeah, you can pick your jaw off the ground right about now. Yeah, I have never, looked into these characters. I've heard of them. I know they were created by Jack Kirby, but that's pretty much it. And I'm not gonna look into it. Why? Because I've never seen a comic book movie without prior knowledge of the source material. I have never experienced that. I've never gone in to a Marvel movie, a Marvel Studios movie, as a casual fan who just loves the movies, has never read the comics. And I would like that experience. So far, other than the cast, the little that I've heard about the movie, not the comic, doesn't sound that interesting to me. It just sounds like another version of the Inhumans, as far as I'm concerned. So, because I love the MCU franchise so much, I just want to have faith in the franchise and go see this movie completely fresh with no expectations and get a brand new experience out of one of the Marvel movies that I've never had before. Just go in completely blind, not knowing what I'm going to get, and see if they can blow me away without me being a hardcore, knowledgeable fan of the source material. And thus, we move on to 2021, where we will get another introduction to a brand new franchise, which will be Shang-Chi, Legend of the Ten Rings. Of the new franchises that they're introducing within the next 2 phases, thus far, this is the one that I'm most excited about. Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, one of the most underrated comic books of all time. Something that I used to, read from time to time when I was young. Being adapted into a movie, I always thought this would be a show or a cartoon first, but the fact that, boom, it's jumping straight into a big budget blockbuster movie, that's amazing. And I know that I joked around a lot about the casting of Shang-Chi, but I like that they casted this relatively unknown, fresh actor to give the character his own spin without any pressure of living up to a legacy that he may have behind him. No, he will build his legacy on this character moving forward. So I wish all the luck in the world to Simu Liu taking on this huge undertaking and springboarding forward in his career. I wish him all the luck in the world. Like Black Widow, this is another one that, quite frankly, honestly, everything that I just said doesn't matter. This movie is going to destroy at the box office. Why? Because the second biggest box office market in the world is China. Marvel knows this. It's no accident that they picked one of their best properties that just so happened to have a Chinese superhero as its titular character, alright? They know that when this movie goes to China, China loves the Marvel movies already, this movie is going to do well. I wouldn't be surprised if this movie grossed over $500 million within its first weekend over in China. So this movie could completely bomb the United States and would destroy over there. So I see their strategy. I just hope that that's not good enough for them and they still put in the effort and create an amazing movie worthy of this franchise, worthy of a sequel or possibly a trilogy. Because I do love this character and I do love the comic. But honestly, they really don't have to. Moving on to the next Disney Plus show, WandaVision. Yeah, again, very much like Winter Soldier and Falcon or Winter Soldier, as it is actually called. Not really crazy excited about it. Just like that show, I hope that that changes when I see a trailer to this. Again, I cannot emphasize enough that I love Elizabeth Olsen, I love Paul Bettany, I love their interpretations of Scarlet Witch and Vision, characters that I never gave a crap about in the comic. I have come to love these characters through these actors' performances. I'm definitely going to check this out, just not thrilled or excited. I'm a little curious as to why they're bothering to make this. I hope that the trailer turns me around. The one thing that I find intriguing, but not in a good way, is that in this streaming show is where they plan to introduce the adult version of Monica Rambeau, aka Photon, whom they introduced as a little girl in Captain Marvel. First things first, congratulations to Tiana Paris for landing the role. Awesome. We're finally gonna get a female black superhero, like legit 100% costume, superpower superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, no disrespect to the ladies from Black Panther. They're all great. They're all badasses. But as far as like costume powers, 100% legit superhero, the first one will be Monica Rambeau. And so that is cool. Why are they introducing her in WandaVision as opposed to Captain Marvel 2? No clue. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see the show and find out. Next we have Loki. So even though, once again, not really excited about a lot of these streaming shows, and I know it will be cool to see Tom Hiddleston play the evil Loki again, because this show will allegedly follow the Loki who stole the Tesseract during the time heist in Avengers Endgame and got away. That'll be cool to see that version of Loki again. Not excited. Don't really care to see this. This didn't make any sense to me until they revealed towards the end of this panel that there will be a fourth Thor movie. Excuse me, a little bit of tongue twister there. And it, of course, will not feature Loki because in regular continuity, he's dead. He's taking a dirt nap. So Thor 4 is going to give the majority of the Thor characters like a final lap, just a final opportunity to take a bow for their audience. That movie will not feature Loki, so here is Tom Hiddleston's opportunity to, for an encore. Like, the audience is begging for it. He's the most beloved villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is crazy when you stop to think about it. And here he is getting his opportunity to take that final vow, that final performance, to just put a nice, neat little bow on the Loki gift that he gave us. Again, very skeptical about this because I feel strongly that Loki is a better supporting character than lead character. But I'm hoping, just like all the other streaming shows, that I will see a trailer and I will love it and it will blow me away and I will not wait to see it. But for now, Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and Loki, I just feel like, okay, here's another Marvel thing with characters that I like, but just don't feel like there's much of a story there, but let's see, which is not a very good feeling to have when talking about your favorite franchise, but they are yet to let me down, so we'll see what they do. Now, enough about talking about streaming shows that I'm not excited about. Let's talk about the ones that I am excited about, starting with Marvel's What If. This was one of my all-time favorite comic books growing up. Every time I see a comic book on the newsstand with the title What If, I didn't care what the subtitle to that was. I would pick it up immediately. I wanted to see an alternate version of my favorite Marvel characters, what would happen in this alternate tale. It was Marvel's version of the Twilight Zone. It was two of my favorite things combined. The Twilight Zone, Rod Serling, combined with superheroes and Stan Lee. So the fact that they're doing this, and then on top of that, that it will be animated, makes me very excited. What worries me, though, is that I am yet to see a still of the animation. If anybody that was present at the event and has a screen grab of some sort of the type of animation that they're going to use, I would appreciate it. I am terrified that they will use cheap-ass, shitty, made-for-TV CG. Sucks. Or that they will use flash animation. God, that animation sucks. That animation should be relegated only for animation students who are in their first year of school, like just learning the basics. It just does not look good. So I hope is either really good CG like you would see in a Disney movie. I mean, Disney is producing this fucking shit. Or just traditional hand-drawn animation. So that's my main worry. I know the stories will be good. I know the voice work will be good. Really excited that so many actors from the Marvel Cinematic Universe are reprising their roles. And on top of that, very happy that they casted Jeffrey Wright as one of my all-time favorite Marvel characters. That guy right there. Thank you for the cameo, Uatu. So very excited about it, but as I just illustrated, this show could very easily let me down. And the streaming Disney Plus Marvel show that I'm most excited about, of course, is Hawkeye. Finally, Hawkeye gets a solo anything, a movie, the TV show, just anything. And I said this really early on in fact, when Daredevil was released and Jessica Jones was looming on the horizon, I thought to myself, they should make one of these of Hawkeye. Just Hawkeye by himself, going on some assassination missions, just something really cool, really gritty with just Hawkeye. And here it is. It's happening. And apparently it's going to be mostly about Hawkeye passing his bow and quiver to Kate Bishop, the next Hawkeye. But one way or another, just really happy that Jeremy Renner is getting top billing on any Marvel thing at all, because he really deserves it. And I feel this way because he has been the Avenger who has gotten the least amount of development in the movies. Hell, he was absent from Captain America Civil War and Infinity War. He missed the 2 wars. So we're finally going to get to see Hawkeye front and center. Really excited. Jeremy Renner deserves it. I cannot wait to see this one. Sadly, it's the one that's going to premiere last towards the end of 2021. But for all good things, you have to wait. Moving back to the movies, kicking off Marvel Month in 2021, the sequel that I am anticipating the most, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. It's Doctor Strange. Do I need to say anything else? He is my favorite MCU character. He's coming back for a second round. I would have been okay with just one Doctor Strange movie, but it was successful, and now there's another one, and then now there's a chance there might be 3. So I am beside myself with happiness. Scott Derrickson is coming back as the director. Awesome. Benedict's coming back as Doctor Strange. Awesome. We're going to get to explore the multiverse. It's not just a Mysterio con anymore. And it will be the first ever Marvel Cinematic Universe movie that will be horror. So I am beyond excited. Also, Scarlet Witch is gonna be in it as well. So I cannot put into words how excited I am about this movie. It is the upcoming Marvel Cinematic Universe film that I am looking forward to the most. And apparently we're gonna cap off 2021 with Thor 4, Love and Thunder. Now, the rumors for this movie started way back when Thor Ragnarok first came out. Like, the reviews came out and immediately people were talking about, man, they should really make another Thor movie with Taika Waititi as the director. And I thought, well, it's too late. The original 6 Avengers are going to be done after Endgame. It's over, man. They're done. Their contracts have expired. They're going to move on. It's over. And plus, Ragnarok was so good that it was just a good send-off for the Thor franchise. They don't need to make another one. But it kept coming up in some form or fashion. People kept saying, okay, well, if they don't make another Thor, can Taika Waititi please direct another Marvel movie? Any movie. When they released James Gunn from directing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, immediately people said, oh, get Taika to do it. Thankfully, they rehired James Gunn. Thank God that went as well as it did. And then when Disney bought Fox, and suddenly the Marvel Fox franchises were back at the House of Ideas, people were like, oh, get Taika to direct Fantastic Four. But again, it kept coming up over and over and over again in some form or fashion that either people wanted Taika to make another Marvel movie, or please just go ahead and make Thor 4. Which rhymes beautifully. So, lo and behold, probably one of the most shocking announcements that came before San Diego Comic-Con was that it was happening. They are making a Thor 4 as a direct continuation to Thor Ragnarok, to Taika Waititi's very goofy, very fun Thor universe. And if that's not enough for us insane fanboys, they're going to introduce the female version of Thor, the mighty Thor, who in the comics is Jane Foster. And when I heard this, I thought, oh, well, they're probably gonna get some other female character. It's probably gonna be Jamie Alexander, Sif, to take over as Thor. It probably will be Tessa Thompson, aka Valkyrie, to pick up the hammer next. I mean, he symbolically made her the Queen of Asgard. But no, they're gonna be truthful. They're gonna honor the source material and pass the hammer to Jane Foster, Natalie Portman, who is one of the actors who's the most famous for leaving Marvel under bad terms. She was very unhappy with the Thor movies and her involvement in them, and she was very vocal about it and how displeased she was with working on those 2 projects, both for different reasons. So it's crazy that Kevin Feige managed to smooth things over with her and stay true to his word that the female characters were going to get a more prominent role in their future movies. And this is a huge, huge, huge step towards fulfilling that promise. If anything, we can say that Kevin Feige at times fudges the truth, but he does keep his promises in some form or fashion. In some form or fashion, he does deliver, and this is one of those examples of that. He made things right with an actor who had a bad experience, and he's making the fans happy by keeping his promise of introducing more prominent, well-written, cool, important female characters, as opposed to the Jane Foster in the first 2 Thor movies. It's just the damsel in distress, there for Thor and his friends to help out, and that's it. And it makes perfect sense because for Thor to pass the mantle in this upcoming movie, it's the only part of his arc that is missing. If you paid attention to the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 3, you see a lot of the characters passing on their legacy to the next generation. You see Captain America passing the shield to Sam Wilson, the Falcon. In Spider-Man Far From Home, you see Tony Stark leave his shades with the AI, with Edith in them, to Spider-Man, to Peter Parker. And I remember, when I heard, oh no, another Thor movie is coming, and I thought, oh yeah, that's right, Thor didn't really get a proper ending at the end of Endgame. He just kind of flew off with the Guardians. What else is there for Thor to do? And immediately I thought, oh, he's gonna pass the hammer. Stormbreaker or whatever, Mjolnir, to the next Thor, the next god of thunder. But who is it going to be? And I kept breaking my brain trying to figure out, it's probably going to be Beta Ray Bill. Yeah, everybody wants Beta Ray Bill. We already know he exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And they just threw a complete curveball at us. And they gave us something that a lot of fans really wanted. And to be perfectly frank, I want it too. I think this is a really cool idea, and I think that Natalie Portman's animosity towards Marvel was that, she really wasn't getting, they weren't trusting her with like big responsibilities like this. And she is an A-list actor. Like, she could really handle like a leading role like this. So I am excited about this. I am very interested in this on so many levels. From revisiting the Ragnarok Thor world, to Taika directing again and his wonderful humor and his ideas, to seeing Thor one last time. I was okay with saying goodbye to him in Endgame, but wouldn't mind seeing the character one more time. I love Chris Hemsworth's interpretation of him. One last chance to say goodbye, and to see him officially pass the mantle to the next God of Thunder, who will be Jane Foster, in one of the most compelling and pivotal, essential, seminal stories in the Thor mythos, the Mighty Thor. So there you go. But that was not it for the end of the announcements at San Diego Comic-Con. They slipped in one final announcement that caught everybody off guard. Nobody predicted this. It wasn't rumored. I think only one internet personality kind of predicted this indirectly. But they are bringing back Blade, and none other than Mahershala Ali will be playing the Daywalker. Now, for those of you who don't know, Blade is one of my all-time favorite comic book movie franchises. I was not a fan of the comic book growing up, but I knew of it. I was familiar with it. I've read a few issues, but when the movie came out and I saw how it looked, and the techno music, and Wesley Snipes, and the fighting, and the effects, I loved it. It was like catnip for teenage ERod. I just ate it up. I just enjoyed it so much. I loved it until the third movie. The third movie was terrible. The franchise introduced me to Guillermo del Toro, who would go on to become one of my all-time favorite directors. And more importantly, this is the franchise that jump-started the comic book movie boom back in 1998. Over 20 years of amazing comic book movies. So how symbolic it is for Marvel Studios to have regained the three franchises that kicked off the comic book movie boom, being Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and of course Blade. And it looks like all three of them will have their own franchises, will be in production at the same time at Marvel Studios, which is beyond awesome. And before I close this out, before I forget, the YouTuber that predicted that Mahershala Ali at one point would play Blade was Boss Logic, who is that amazing artist who does all the paintings of potential actors that will play superheroes as the superheroes. Very cool stuff. Look him up. His art is amazing, and he's definitely a fan making art for the fans. But here's the thing that I think is kind of funny but kind of sad at the same time about Mahershala Ali playing Blade. First of all, excellent casting. Very happy with it. One of the greatest young actors of our time playing one of my favorite characters. I've always said that I was very, very attached to the Wesley Snipes version because that's the version that I fell in love with first. I never cared for the comic. I never cared for the one time he did a cameo in the Spider-Man cartoon in the 90s. Didn't care for any of that. But Wesley Snipes playing Blade was awesome. Loved it. So much so that I'm very protective of anybody else stepping into those shoes. But I have to say that I'm 100% okay with Mahershala doing this. He is such a talented guy. I cannot wait to see what he does with it. But the sad part is that he already played Cottonmouth in the first season of Luke Cage, which is allegedly part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Is such a prominent character, such a main character in the franchise that, boy, nothing says we don't give a fuck about the Netflix Marvel shows than that. That the fact that they took one of the main actors from one of those shows and made him like one of the lead characters in one of their upcoming movie franchises. But there you go. We all kind of knew that. We all kind of knew that there was a disconnect and that in spite of the fact that Kevin Feige is always very diplomatic when he talks about the Marvel shows and he gets questions about them, that they honestly don't give a fuck about those shows. They don't take them into consideration when making their movies. And the closest we're ever going to get to a crossover between the Marvel Netflix shows or the Marvel ABC shows and the movies was the wonderful and amazing James Darcy reprising his role as Edwin Jarvis in Avengers Endgame, which was one of my favorite Easter eggs. But that's it. That's the closest we're gonna get. It was like a quick little like wink and a nod at the camera. And that's it. So that's a little bit sad. Hopefully that will change in the future, and one day there will be a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie that will acknowledge the events of one of the Marvel Netflix shows. But I'm not holding my breath. Anyway, so many announcements, so many emotions, and then in true comic book fashion, right as they are closing down the panel, Kevin Feige hit us with a big to be continued, all right? He said, well, oh my God, we ran out of time, and I haven't talked about Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2, Guardians Volume 3, how we're going to introduce mutants into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the Fantastic Four. And I'm like, oh my God, make the fucking panel 1 more hour. We need 1 more hour so we can talk about this shit. And he hit a bit to be continued. And if you've been paying attention to all the tweets and announcements from Marvel Studios, we know they will pick it up. They will continue with the rest of these announcements at D23, which is coming up toward the end of August. Hopefully King Feige will elaborate about those last few cock teases towards the end of the San Diego Comic-Con Marvel panel over at D23. So we're just gonna have to wait a little bit longer, just a few short weeks to find out about these other franchises. Because as you all know, like the number one thing that I'm waiting on bated breath at the edge of my seat is the Fantastic Four, who's gonna play them, how they're gonna introduce them. Can't wait for them to do what they did for Spider-Man, Daredevil, Punisher, characters that have been already adapted by other studios, and they took them back and adapted them well, the way they were supposed to be adapted. I can't wait for them to do what they did for those characters for the Fantastic Four, because they were one of my all-time favorite comic books, and the Thing is my all-time favorite Marvel character. So I can't wait. Thank you so much for listening to my insane ramblings. I appreciate all of the questions that I've received in regards to this ridiculously epic panel. And as per usual, if you guys want to support me beyond just watching my videos, you can do so through patreon.com/ERod, where you can go and pledge $1 to help me continue producing the Blockbuster Buster as a web series, and in return you get bonus videos that you can't see anywhere else but on my Patreon page. However, if my really shitty schedule and my inability to produce videos more often lets you down, and you need more ERod Blockbuster Buster content, follow me on Twitter at ERodBuster1, where I make sure to post funny, interesting, and positive tweets and posts as often as possible every day. Every chance for an opportunity to entertain all of you and to chat with all of you and answer your questions and decide where I'm going to invest my time producing impromptu, unscripted videos like these, answering your questions and entertaining you without all the accoutrements that usually go around a Blockbuster Buster video. So thank you so much. Thank you for your support, because the fact of the matter is I could not do what I do without you.